for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur.
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs!
And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida TV. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro on this Thursday, November 7th, the Montreal Canadiens lose by a score of 5-3 in New Jersey versus the Devils, make it 5 straight losses for the Montreal Canadiens and make it 9 of their last 11. Yeah, Brian Wilde will join us in just a minute, and he'll be joined by Grant McCagg, and Brian will tell us patience. And maybe some of you have run out of it by now. I'm kind of like okay with it because the Canadiens battled and they tried, and I think ultimately they just got beat by some of New Jersey's better players who were the best players on the ice tonight. And I'm talking about Jack Hughes and I'm talking about Brad, of course, who both had 3 points apiece for the New Jersey Devils. The Sick Podcast brought to you in part by many sponsors. We're very happy to say, one of which, of course, is Playground. If you're looking for the ultimate entertainment experience, Playground has it all: gaming, poker, fine dining, live music, DJs, all with unmatched customer service. Why go anywhere else? Located just over the Mercier Bridge, only minutes from downtown Montreal, Playground is your top destination for fun. Also brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group. They are a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America. They're driven to be different, and they're one of the best transport companies to work for basically in the country. They are a top fleet employer. They are Energy Transportation Group. And also brought to you in part by Bittt Tibi. They launched their new Ultra Lager. It's a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for cool fall days. Only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. It's ultra light, ultra refreshing. Without further ado, let's get to Grant McCagg, who's with us right now. Brian Wilde will be joining us shortly. Grant, of course, is co-host of the Recruits Draftcast podcast, and he is our senior writer with Sick Sports News, or Sick Sports News, I should say. Grant, how are you?
Hey, well, not too bad.
Yeah.
I guess when they were saying that, when Kent and Jeff and company were saying that they're in the mix, I guess they should have qualified them in the mix for the first overall pick, maybe.
Well, look, like I said, seeing as we both follow Brian's Twitter account, of course, and we know that Brian is going to preach patience because he's been doing a lot of that lately. And a lot of people have answering Brian back, telling him that he's right. And a lot of people have been answering Brian back, telling him, well, we're not the ones who said we're going to be in the mix. That came from Marty St. Louis last year and Jeff Molson this year and Jeff Gorton this year and Kent Hughes this year. So unfortunately, the Canadiens are going to have that held against them this year, Grant.
Well, yeah, of course. But I think they said that they want to be in the mix. I don't know that they were outright said we're going to be in the mix. Maybe they, maybe a couple of times they did. But I think for the most part, they were saying we want to be in the mix. We think we can be in the mix. But I don't recall them necessarily saying, oh, we're playoff contenders. They never said that, so the hope was that they'd be in the mix. And I thought maybe too at the start of the year, but don't forget, Tony, too, that was before Laine got hurt, right? Like even I, who I'm as optimistic as anyone, when Laine went down, I that they needed that piece so badly for the top 6. They really did. And without them, they just don't quite have the horses to keep up with teams offensively. especially when they've got, and Brian will preach this as he's been doing on Twitter, when they've got such a young defense core, that my hope was that they'd make another step, that they would, make that other step to start this year, but they're still learning. And you can tell that, none of these guys have more than 120 games of NHL experience. And it's just it's going to take time. And we're seeing that with this group. It's going to take time for the defense to be up to be able to play, at an above 500 level the majority of the time. Without line A, they don't have a full top six. You're trying to piece and match. Like Jake Evans who I think has had a great year, but when he's in your top six, Tony, that there's a piece missing.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's going to take time and patience, as everybody knows. But what I did tonight when I was putting the call of the Wild together, a lot of the responses, but they should be better than this, or that they can blame the coach or blame certain elements of the defense, of the system, the hybrid that they're trying to play and everything. And while that may be worth some degrees, like small measures, the large measure is exactly what you're talking about, Grant. The large measure is the 5 and 6 years that a defenseman who's 20 needs before he's at his peak. We're not just talking about, if the hybrid were not there, maybe they could, it's not going to lead to like a 360 transformation. It will lead to, if everything comes together in every little way, from health and Martin St. Louis system, whether you like it or not, or special teams, then it's just a bump to there. That part is experience. And then I think you got to look at history too. People forget history. Some of the replies when I talked about this is year 3 were a lot about, but they should be farther along. Well, then I kind of just went through some of the historical rebuilds. Well, the Toronto Maple Leafs went 9 years. And they drafted guys like Marner and Matthews, and they didn't actually come out of it until Matthews, but they drafted, Marner and Riley and Nylander and Matthews. And it's a long road. The best one I could find was the Rangers, and it was 5. And the Blackhawks were actually 5-2, the Hawks that went on to win those 3 cups. And with those 3 cups, you could see what the elements were, right? You got Seabrook, you got Keith, you got Taves, you got Kane. It's players. You need players. And then they have to get experience, and then you win hockey games. And it's hard to take because we want it to happen. We love them. We're passionate about them. But this is the road we're on.
Guys, pardon me. My system had blocked up for a second, so I basically had to reboot, but I'm back. I caught pretty much everything of what you were saying, Brian, and I said that. And good evening, Brian. And I had said that, following your Twitter account, of course, and I know that you're going to preach patience. And look, I got no problem with it. I obviously had a problem with the way they lost versus Seattle, because there's no way that Seattle on paper is 4 times better than the Canadiens, and that's what we saw. They gave up 8 to Seattle. They gave up 7 to the Rangers, but they looked so disorganized and so bad in the process. But I have
I don't think anybody's taking any exception with that at all, Tony. I'm certainly not. I'm not criticizing you in any way. When you allow 8 and 7 and you look discombobulated, nobody wants to watch that.
Perfect. I have a question though. Okay. And once again, 15, 16 games into the season, not the end of the world, whatever it is. Okay, no problem. I get it. But did you expect the Canadiens to be worse this season than they were a year ago? And do you think they have been worse this year compared to what they were a year ago?
Do you want to take this first or me?
Yeah, I'd like to take it, Tony, because
go ahead.
It doesn't matter what we expect, because Bob Gainey, expect the unexpected, right? We didn't expect Line A to get hurt before he ever stepped on the ice. We didn't expect Montembeault I don't know, let in a goal on one of his first 2 shots. It seems like every single game since the opening night. We didn't expect,
I would say not since the opening night, because the opening night he got a shutout. But
that's what I said. Since opening night.
Since opening night. Pardon me. You're so much smarter than I am. Yeah.
We didn't expect Slav to get 1 goal in his first 14 games. We didn't expect Newhook to get off to such a slow start. So, yeah, you don't expect things, but they happen, and there's reasons behind it. And, I expected the young defense to be better than it's been, but Brian, the sage that he is, has pointed out, and done some research on it, and it's true. And I said to Brian, even Edmonton, with all their firepower, those first, it took them 3-4 years. Coffee and Lowe and Greg and Huddy all had to mature before they were able to even win a cup. It didn't matter how potent their offense was. So you've got the young defensemen. There's going to be growing pains when you got 5 guys with less than 150 NHL games of experience. It's just a fact. So
I'll give you that. And one of the turning points for the New Jersey Devils, by the way, I spoke with Adam, who's a Devils fan earlier today, friend of mine. And I said to him, Adam, a couple of years ago, the Devils 3rd in the league. Last year, 23rd in the league. And this year, right before the game tonight, they were 8th in the league. And I said, why were they so good a couple of years ago, and why were they so bad last year? And he said last year, one of the things they came to the realization to is that, A, they had to beef up their goaltending for sure. And B, he says, they had too many young defensemen in the lineup at the same time. So they went out and they actually got 3 defensemen in the offseason who are playing all the time, who have a lot more experience, who are in their mid-20s to late 20s. And that's why they're better. So when you think about that, you can understand why the Canadiens are struggling, because like you just said, Grant, they got 5 defensemen between 20 and 24 years of age. However, Brian, and we're going to break down the game and we're going to go through goal per goal and everything like that. But I do have a question though, right? Because Marty St. Louis will be here 3 years in the month of February. Kent Hughes will be here 3 years in the month of January. And in a couple of weeks, it'll be the 3-year anniversary for Jeff Gordon already. But, they've told us since they came in, development, progress, and all that. So we saw the development last year, which resulted in the progress of the players. Grant said things happen. Perfect. I got it. But how many players look like they're a step behind? If one player gets off to a bad start, or 2 or 3, it's not that bad. But when it looks like a bunch of players have taken a step back, and some of the players you didn't expect to take 2 steps forward, like Brendan Gallagher, it's a little bit confusing. Like the Canadiens have, with the exception of Sean Monahan, and by the way, that's a big without Sean Monahan. They have a team similar to last year, but a team that got Kirby Dach back from injury, added Lane Hudson to their team, and all those young players have a year more experience and maturity. Did you expect them to lose 9 of their last 11?
Well, a couple of those examples that you raised, as much as Lane Hudson has been outstanding on the offensive side of the puck, he's absolutely, he and Kirby Dach are analytically getting caved in. So they're not even pluses. They're pluses as people, and eventually you expect them to be pluses as players and difference makers. But actually in their, in Dach's first games trying to recover from major knee surgery, he's been a negative player. And as much as Hudson's been wonderful on the offensive side of the puck, he has been a negative player. So these are actually not additions. They're subtractions, but it's really hard to believe that because much is expected of them, as I do expect a lot of them. But, Lane Hutson's playing. He's just gotten out of a dozen games. They're like the pinch, for example. I asked about that pinch late in the game down by one. It looked like a really good pinch, but at the same time, we all know that coach. What's the first thing a coach is going to tell me? Pat Burns said it a long time ago that there are two ways you lose hockey games in the NHL. Number one, you turn the puck over in the neutral zone, and number two is you allow odd man rushes. And the best teams allow 0 odd man rushes. So as it would have been great if Heineman would have seen him. It would have been a tap in and easy. The result, it was an odd man the other way, and Struble didn't handle it perfectly. And there you go, the game. That was the winner, I think, in the end, right? So that's the difference between 2 points on the board, or at least a chance for 2 if you get into overtime, which I really thought they were going to tonight. I thought they had tonight, but it didn't work out because of youth, because of that type of error. So
look,
to answer your question, because I kind of went off track a little bit, but to answer the question, I think if you're looking at a 5-year rebuild and you look at 16 games in that, and it feels like you're going. Hold on, I got to get my hand in there. And it feels like you're going like that, right? It's not that surprising. It goes down before it goes back up again. I mean, it's just not a linear process. It's just magnified because it's the first 16. But I expect in January, you're going to see big improvements from this team. Dach will be more ready to play. This young D will have another 40 games under their belt. Line returns. I expect this is the low right now in this entire rebuild as we speak. Even this moment might be, because they could win their next one.
Yeah, there's a comment though I want to get to on YouTube, and it's brought to you by Robert Balser. And I'm sorry, Robert, I'll disagree with this one. Robert says hardly any fight in this team. My best guess is that Marty has lost the room. This is a very odd timing to throw out a message like this, right? The Canadiens lost tonight. There was an empty net goal, or else it's a 1-goal game. They lost the game before by a 1-goal game in overtime. They were up 2-1 with 2.5 minutes left in regulation. And they also lost a game by a score of 3-1 in Pittsburgh on Saturday, which also had an empty net goal. When a coach loses his team, those games versus the Rangers and Seattle, well, you end up losing about 4 or 5 of those in a row, right? Marty has not lost this team. Are they incredibly disorganized in their own zone? Yes. They try and get a little bit better? Yes. Does it seem like every time the other team scores a goal against them that they still seem like they're all one side of the ice and they don't know who to pick up? I would say yes as well. Grant, I'm going to bring up the lineup for the Canadiens tonight, if I can. Here you have it. Suzuki with Dach on his right, Caulfield on his left, Evans with Slavkovsky on his right, and Newhook on his left. Dvorak with Gallagher on his right and Anderson on his left. Condotta centering the fourth line with Armia on his right, Heineman on his left. On defense, Matheson, Goalie, Hudson, Savard, Xhekaj, and Struble. Montembeault was in goal. Grant, for me, tonight's game, I'd love to have your thoughts. It's a very, very easy game to decipher. New Jersey's best players were a lot better than Montreal's best players. And New Jersey has a superstar, and his name is Jack Hughes, and he took the Canadiens to school tonight. Hughes had 3 points. Brad had 3 points. And the Canadiens' number one line did. Brian likes to talk about analytics. Brian, I'd love to see their expected goals for percentage. I bet you the Canadiens' number one line was their worst line tonight for expected goals for. Grant?
Agreed.
Yeah, I'd like to know the possession time for Suzuki tonight.
6 seconds.
As your number one center, he seemed to have the puck for like less than 10 seconds. I think I heard his name about twice the entire game. When you're up against a team with two centers like Hischier and Hughes, and your first line center kind of disappears, you're probably not going to win the game. And I think I can't disagree with you in that regard that Suzuki was outplayed by Hughes and Hischier tonight, especially Hughes.
I know that if we look at Nick Suzuki's points in the amount of games that he's played this year, it's very respectable. I think he's got 13 points in 14 games. I mean, anyone will take that. But his consistency is nowhere near what it was a year ago. I find the way he protects the puck is nowhere near where it was a year ago. I find the time in the offensive zone was nowhere near where it was a year ago. He's obviously not a big problem in the Montreal Canadiens, but for me, he's nowhere near where he was a year ago, even though he's got more points.
Yeah, I agree with that, but he's one of the players that I'm least concerned about because I know that he will bounce back.
Yeah, for sure.
He's you have your bad periods, and right now he's having it unfortunately at the start of the year, so it always exacerbates it's more evident. But Suzuki doesn't always get off to strong starts offensively, if I recall correctly. He kind of heats up as the year goes along, and the same with Slavkovsky. Well, kind of my camera just went on me.
Yeah.
Slav, last 2 years, first half of the year, he does nothing offensively, and it seems like, I don't know if it's mom's home cooking at Christmas or what the deal is, but once Christmas comes, you see him step it up offensively. Cole was different this year. Last year he started slow. This year he started quick. But I think the Liney's return, the more experience that the defense gets, I think the real problem right now is just finding a goalie that can play as well as the guy at the other end. It doesn't seem like there's many nights. Has the Canadiens goaltender outplayed, other than the opening night, the opposing netminder very often? To me, that's they need to find a solution there. I would start looking at maybe picking up a veteran somewhere else if they want to stay in this mix.
I'm going to take. I'm just going to look at, like you mentioned, what concerns you. So I'm going to talk about what concerns me. The blue line doesn't concern me because I can see their ages and I can see their pedigree. I can see they're all first-round draft choices. I can see one was the MVP of the Western Hockey League playoffs, leading them to the Memorial Cup berth. I can see all that. It doesn't scare me. I know how trajectories work, and they're all very young. So I'm not scared of the defense at all, even though they look like a mess. Like, short term, I'm not sure about this hybrid. I think it's a little too difficult for them to understand right now. Maybe simplify because they are still young, and then bring in that hybrid a little bit later. But that's just a minor point. It doesn't concern me overall. Goaltending, I'm not concerned. No, I'm not concerned.
No, but you said defense. I'm concerned about Mike Matheson. He was terrible tonight.
Oh, okay, yeah. But let me finish my point. You're going to see why I'm not concerned about Mike Matheson. All right. I'm concerned about goaltending. Well, obviously right now I am, but I believe in Jacob Fowler because I noticed he's got a 9.67 save percentage. And right. So I'm not concerned. You know what I mean? Because, this is like a long kind of thing we're doing here. Now, forwards, final two lines. Am I concerned if Josh Anderson does this or Christian Dvorak does that? No, I'm not concerned because when this team is a team, it's Owen Beck that's there. So I'm not concerned. So who am I concerned with? I'm actually concerned with the first line because they are the future. They are what we expect are going to take them to somewhat of a promised land. And analytically, they're getting caved in almost every night. And I don't understand because last year when Slav was on that line, they were top 10 in the league. They were 62 share on goals expected. This year, they're like a 35 share. And they switch off to Dach and they only improve to a 42 share. So I don't know why the share is down and they're getting hemmed in so much. And it might have to do with the young defenseman, and it's a knock-on effect because somebody's got to get you the puck and figure out how to do that correctly before he can play hockey in the correct side of the ice. So that turns into a 62 share. So I have a minor concern there, but I think it's defense related. And that takes me to Mike Matheson, who, again, I'm not all that concerned about because I think the most important thing with him eventually is he brings the experience. So please bring that experience, pass that experience on. But he is not a part of that great 2027 future either, considering his age. So I guess I'm not that concerned about that either. So what's my number one concern? It's the first line.
Grant, your thoughts on what Brian just said about the first line, your thoughts, because I definitely have an opinion on it. But go ahead, Grant.
Yeah. Well, I think that the first line, because of what we saw last year, for whatever reasons, they're struggling right now, but it's still a pretty small sample size, and I'm not that concerned long term. I think that they'll right the ship. I think Nick can play better, and he will play better because we've seen it for the majority of the last 3 years. So, and I think Slav will eventually end up back there. And what we've seen with Slav the last 3 games is more scoring chances, which was concerning me because he wasn't getting them for a while. I think he's got just like last year, once he got that second goal, he got rolling. And I think that's what you'll see with him. He's gripping the stick a little tight right now. He gets that goal, they'll start coming. They'll probably move him back up to the first line. Dach, I still think that the plan is they want him centering that second line, and the hope is to get him going and then get him into that slot. But my concern at the start of the year, and it still is just the top 6. They have to have top 6 guys going for them to compete for a playoff spot. And until they do that, last year it was the first line and that was it. This year, neither line for the most part, really. It's neither of the top 2 lines has been going other than Caulfield scoring goals. Yeah. So I think they got to get Line A back. They've got a new hook if he skates. Like Brian mentioned something, and it's exactly right on Twitter. Like when he skates, he's effective, and for some reason he wasn't skating a lot of nights, kind of standing around thinking, too much thinking and not enough reacting. Well, if new hook starts going now, get Line A back, Dach back in the second line spot, the young defense starts to figure things out. Hopefully the goaltending, they stop a puck in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
They'll be a better team and they'll be more competitive. So,
okay.
I don't know if I answered that.
I know really. You did answer, but one of the things you said is small sample size. Okay. I heard that from Marty St. Louis, 5% of the season into 5% of the season, 10% of the season, 15% of the season. We're 18% of the season gone already, right? This team cannot afford to be this bad 18% of the season if indeed the goal is the mix. Now, if the goal is not the mix, they just want to be rebuilding, okay, no problem. There's no problem with it. The other thing I find is Suzuki and Caulfield, they look really small. I know you kind of like take offense to when I say Suzuki small, but hear me out for a second. They look small. And you look small when you're not playing fast. Because if you don't want to look small, you play fast. And when you play fast and you have the puck and you play fast, you don't look as small. They're not playing fast. And it seems to me the number 1 line with Slafkovsky, even though Slafkovsky got off to a slow start, it was looking pretty good. The second they had 1 or 2 dips, they put Dach on that line to try and get Dach going. And Dach he's slowing down the line. He's making the line even worse. And, we talk about concerns. My concern is Kirby Dach. And I know a lot of people are saying, don't be concerned because he's coming back from that injury. And look, I get it, right? Because I've seen that injury a lot in all sports, especially soccer. Sometimes it takes athletes 2 years before they start becoming themselves again. All right. I hate to say that, but that's a fact.
Yep.
But
and they may not. Ever.
But the way Dach takes faceoffs and the way he thinks the game and the way he plays the game, I'm telling you, every day I get bigger and bigger doubts of his ability to be a top tier centerman in the National Hockey League. He doesn't play like a center to me, guys. He doesn't.
No, well, last year, I mean, 2 years ago, I thought defensively he got back low. He was doing things like other than the face-offs. I thought he was playing well defensively as a center and playing well as a center in general. But no, so far this year. But now he's been playing the wing the last. So again, small sample size. I know you hate hearing that, Tony, but he hasn't. But yeah, I'm concerned about him. But long term, Michael Hage takes a lot of that concern away. Right? Yeah. I mean, that's why they drafted him, because they probably thought, hey, we need. Well, one of the reasons is that he was the best player available, but you get as many guys that can play, that you think can play. Like, I think Kapanen has second line center, even though we didn't really see it. That's his upside. Beck, that's his ultimate upside. Hage definitely has top 2 center upside. So if Dach doesn't develop, they've got guys that can play that role in the future. So long term, I'm not as concerned that Dach may not be that top 2 center that we're hoping. But so what were you going to say, Tony?
Well, I was going to say that you've seen Beck a heck of a lot more than me. So, but I will respect
upside. Tony means their absolute ceiling.
Their ultimate ceiling. I get it.
Hey, he was the top center on Memorial Cup teams. Okay, he
MVP.
He can play. He's not going to be an 80-point second line center, but if his ultimate upside is 50, 60 points and a fantastic all around checking center, there's a lot of second line centers that wish that they had that ability. So if he's got that upside. I don't know that he'll be a 60-point scorer in the NHL, but the upside's there. Again, that's if you were to, if I were to rank them, it'd be Hage, obviously, that has a lot more chance of being the second line center.
1,000%. Yes. The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Souflaki Authentique, family operated Greek restaurant, 7 locations, Lachine, Boisbriand, Pierrefonds, to name a few. They use fresh Quebec chicken, fresh Quebec pork. They're both hand cut. They're marinated in-house. Their gyros hand stacked in-house. It's never frozen. No MSG in any of the recipes. Greek potatoes, not your Yaya's Greek potatoes. They have a unique lemon sauce. Also, Betway, a leading global online betting and gaming brand. Follow your gut instinct. Go with Betway. Go on betway.com or scan the QR code to join the action. Must be 18 years old or over and play responsibly. Guys, I want to get to the goals if I can. All right. Here we go. Period number 1, 1 minute and 33 seconds into the game. This is a theme, of course, like Grant was saying. It seems like one of the first 2 shots end up going in, and Hamilton takes a shot. Slavkovsky puts his stick in front of it. His stick breaks. Brat moves, tries to make a move off of Goalie. The puck comes back to Jack Hughes, who gives it back to Hamilton, who gives it back to Hughes. He does the dipsy doodle around Alex Newhook. Goalie leaves his position, and he does a backhand pass right over the Jesper Bratt, and it's 1-0 for the New Jersey Devils. The second goal by Palat. Goalie gets stripped of the puck. It was a very difficult night for Goalie, guys. Him and Matheson were out there against Jack Hughes, and I think at one point Marty St. Louis went over to see Stefan Robida and probably told him something, but he gets stripped of the puck by Palat to Hughes, back to Palat. Anderson can't get to him. Palat in the slot. 2-0 for the New Jersey Devils. Then Alex Newhook puts the Canadiens on the board 5 minutes into period number 2. The Devils, by the way, guys, give away the puck. It's picked off by Jaden Struble, who passes the puck to Jake Evans, who drops it back to Alex Newhook, who takes a shot that there's no doubt in my mind that Markstrom should have stopped, but he didn't. He got a piece of it. And, guys, this goal that gave the Devils a 3-1 lead by Siegenthaler, 10-20 into period number 2. So there's a 3-on-1 for the Devils, guys, a 3-on-1, which Lane Hudson plays to perfection. And then some of the guys try and get back, but I think it was David Savard who leaves his right defense position to go all the way over to the boards. But I want you to see this, and Habs on Reddit put it on Twitter. I don't know if you guys saw this. After Lane Hudson stopped an odd man rush with a great play, what was the Habs defensive strategy here? Look at this, guys. Like 4 players all caught on the one side of the ice, and the pass goes through, I think it's Hudson's legs to Siegenthaler. There's only one Canadian, but he can't stop that shot, and he beat Samuel Montembeault. But they look like they had no idea. I get him, you get him, I get him, I'll go. We've seen this so many times, guys. So many. Grant?
What bothered me the most about that goal was the freaking Canadian that got tripped and it made it a 3-on-1 on the way back, interfered with, and it was blatant, and they didn't call it.
Yeah,
that to me, and then they got running around because they were, it was 3-on-1, 4-on-1. They panicked after that, but the rest did not do the Habs any favors with a couple of calls tonight, and I don't know how many people saw that, but the guy got tripped. Like flagrantly tripped, and he couldn't get back in, and that's what made it a 3-on-1 to begin with. But yeah, the Canadians are, when they're out too many men, outmanned, they aren't making the right decisions, and I don't know that the hybrid is working for the young defense as well as maybe it should. It's good in concept, but they might have to look at maybe. Changing that up if things don't start to, get better, because it just looks like they're too confused by it at times. It really does.
Brian, I think it was David Savard that got tripped up because Lane Hudson was the last man back, and he was the only man back on the 3-on-1. And then I remember David Savard trying to rush back into the play. But your thoughts on some of the, look, we know that goals are scored by great plays and or mistakes, defensive mistakes or miscues with defensive zone coverage. But the Canadians, some of the goals, you break down the goals that they've been giving up in the last couple of games here, there's a ton of mistakes that they make without the puck.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where learning comes in. Most of the time when you're going through the process of becoming a better player and going up the levels from junior college, American Hockey League, NHL. It's play with the puck that you probably learned at a very young age, and play without it that you conceptualize last. And so again, I think this is coming down to young guys conceptualizing this hybrid system last. And I just don't want them to lose confidence, and they shouldn't, because their pedigree, they always can rely on it. Well, I was drafted 13th for a reason, for example, after you've had a tough night. But you don't want the confidence to get so low that they lose a little bit of faith in themselves. So, I don't know exactly what's going on in Martin St. Louis' head as far as what the drama is to get results right now versus the overall wish to make them better hockey players down the road. Like, it's one for the other, right? Like, if you sacrifice a little bit right now and simplify, that means ultimately your complex knowledge is suffered too by 2027. So it's a little bit of give for now and a little bit of take for then. And you've got to balance that out, that you keep their confidence in learning up. Because at the end of the day, when you look at all these young guys, there's only one thing that matters, is learning. Learning. Because we already know their talent. We know their pedigree. So what'll make them learn best? And if they can learn this and suffer through this, then that's great. But if all it just leads to frustration and a lack of confidence and a little bit of give up, and they don't conceptualize it, then it's bad. So we'll see how it looks, because I really know that Martin St. Louis is really smart at this. Like, he didn't just suffer brain damage in the summer in a car accident. He's got the same brain that we all loved before. What's changed?
Well, he was never a huge defensive tactician, Brian. I'm
not saying that. I'm not saying that. But did we talk about it like that? No. Like we are now? Like, we're talking about it right now like he's a dummy a little bit. No, and not you specifically, but overall. I look at Twitter and everybody's like that. Suddenly he's not so bright anymore. He's really quite bright. He's really and he won cups and he played with great coaches that taught him, how to see the whole ice.
But he needs help.
I don't think he's lost any of that.
Brian, he needs help. He needs help, Brian.
No, I think he does. I think it wouldn't hurt. I think it wouldn't hurt. I wouldn't use the word needs, but I don't think it would hurt.
Well, let's be honest here, okay? Let's put the cards on the table right now, okay?
So you don't like Stefan Robida?
No, that's not what I said. But what I will say is this. Stefan Robida was hired at the same time as Marty St. Louis. Marty St. Louis is going to have 3 years behind the bench in February, and Stefan Robida will have 3 years behind the bench. Where did Stefan Robida coach before coaching the Montreal Canadiens? He coached the U18 AAA team, and Marty St. Louis coached the Pee Wee and Bantam team. Where did Trevor Letowski coach before he was behind the Montreal Canadiens bench, which he's been for the last 4 years? All right, he coached in the Ontario Hockey League. He was 5 years as a head coach, 5 years as an assistant coach, and then went straight to the National Hockey League. The Canadiens have a coach in Laval who was a head coach for 11 years of junior hockey, was the Winnipeg Jets assistant coach for 5 years, was the Manitoba Moose head coach for 5 years, was the Columbus Blue Jackets assistant coach for 2 years, and was the Columbus Blue Jackets head coach for 1 year. That coach that the Canadiens have in Laval has more behind the bench pro experience than the Canadiens' 3 coaches put together. That's not normal.
No argument for me. I'm 100 with you. I said it 3 weeks ago on the radio when I got a chance.
Yeah, that's all I was saying.
I wrote an article about it last week that I think that they need to bring in and stressed all those points and that they need to bring in a veteran, I think. And they got Marty's consultant, like a guy to consulting.
Yeah, Roger Grillo, yeah.
Roger who coached him 30 years ago to make, that's fine, but there've been a couple instances where I think that their inexperience showed and it cost the club. And I brought it up in the article. And if they have a veteran guy behind the bench, maybe these things don't happen, right? Like Dvorak going to take a draw when it's a 5-on-3. Okay. I looked at the numbers and it made sense because Suzuki doesn't win draws in the left dot in the offensive zone. He doesn't take them and he doesn't win them. He's like 30% for his career. Okay, fine. Well, they bring in Dvorak 5-on-3, but the puck exits the zone. Why does Dvorak stay on the ice? Somebody had to tell him before that, the draw, if the puck comes back out of the zone, get off the ice, get on an offensive player. Nobody did that. He stayed on. They didn't score on the 5-on-3. It was the ball game. It was a difference in the hockey game. Little things like that. Sometimes you got a guy behind the bench that's been there for 15, 20 years at the NHL level. He's gonna think of that.
Yeah, and look, and Grant, I want to say this, right? Please, folks, don't misinterpret what I'm saying by thinking Tony wants Marty St. Louis fired. I don't want anyone fired, especially not Marty St. Louis. I'm not stupid. I know they're a young team. I know they lack depth, and I know that they can use a lot more talent, right? I want to help him. I want someone that he can grow with and someone that can help him. Because, in my opinion, based on what it's worth, all right, and you don't have to like it, I find that great players, some of them get caught up with something. And it happened with Thierry Henry when he coached the Montreal team here in soccer in the MLS. Is that sometimes they think like a player. And when some of their players make mistakes, they have a hard time digesting it. They can't believe it because for them, when they played, it would have been a routine play. It would have been easy. And so Marty does something, guys, that I find that he does way too often. And his lack of experience shows. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about right now. Guys, it's called body language. And I've seen this picture way too many times. Guys, how many times have you seen this? No, but honestly, how many times have you seen this or seen Marty with his shoulder up against the glass looking like, I can't wait for this game to be over because I want to go home? And I'm sorry if I'm saying this, but Marty's body language is defeated a lot. And I know they lose a lot, but it's not because you lose a lot that you have to be defeated a lot, because those guys are discouraged on that bench. And if you're going to be more discouraged than they are, well, then who the heck's going to pick them up? And look, I know I'm showing a picture, and I know there's other times where he's into the game and he's in it, but he does this a lot, guys. He does it a lot.
I didn't find that he's doing it for an official.
Yeah. Like that was after a bad call.
That particular one even is because he was pissed at a ref.
Yeah, but guys, the call is made.
Tony, I'm going to take exception to that because the two losses against the Rangers and the Kraken that were so embarrassing. I actually wrote in my article what I noticed is he was going up and down the bench after there were mistakes on goals where he was saying, listen, what you did there was this and what you need to do is that. So I think he's been pretty good at that. And yes, I have seen what you're saying. There is the odd time because he is human, but a lot of the times it's been the ref. And then I have also, to his defense, seen much more than John Tortorella doing this all night long, where he's actually walking up and down the bench, trying to provide teaching moments when they're freshest, which is when you learn the most.
Okay.
So I haven't been I have a big problem with you. I do agree with you that Pascal Vincent does need to come on board. I watched that team. I went to a game last week in Laval. I enjoyed myself tremendously. What an amazing atmosphere out there, for one. And then, two, the team is so structured. They're so structured. I can't believe that both Montreal Canadian organization teams. So, yes, I think he could use some defensive help. I don't think Stefan Robida is the guy. So what could it hurt if everybody's looking at all these goals with so much, difficulty understanding this hybrid? And maybe he's the experienced voice that could say, hey, you know what, Martin St. Louis, this hybrid thing isn't working for these guys. They're too young. Why don't we try that when they're 24 and 5 instead of 21 2?
Yeah, I agree that. In fact, the first 2 years, especially, I found Marty was very disciplined behind there. I didn't see the exasperation hardly ever. And the start of this year as well. Yeah, we've seen it a few times in recent games. I'll grant you that. But it's uncommon for him. And I think I think he thought the team was going to be in the mix, and he's discouraged by it. He, especially when, well, tonight there were a couple of times, that Savard got hooked and they didn't, that penalty on Slavkovsky for him, you never move your hands back like that because you get it called every time, but he really didn't hold him. And then the other, like, there were some chintzy calls that he didn't like, the Matheson one. And it just, the Canadians, the effort was there, and I thought they were going to tie it up. But, who got the penalties in the third period? It was the Canadians, and it killed them. And yes, he showed his frustration.
Wow.
But I think it's more him being frustrated with just, the fact that this team isn't winning when he thinks it can. And that's the competitiveness of him coming out. But I actually don't mind it from him. I don't think we're going to see it all year.
Yeah.
I think it's been uncommon for him, and I don't see it as an issue.
But look, I listened, Grant. I heard the players' comments at the end of the game, and I know they were saying that they fought and they battled and they were right in it, and they thought they could have tied it, and it bodes well. They think that they're about to turn the corner, this and that. I think they're going to take 5 on Saturday night versus Toronto, personally. But anyway, long story short, they were saying that. I don't know. We probably watched different games because I thought Montembeault in the third period, if it wasn't for him, I think New Jersey would have scored 8 in this game, personally. But anyway, I hear what you're saying about St. Louis, guys, that was after a bad call or not getting calls. But the calls are made, guys. It's not. I'll die on this sword. I don't think it's the body language that you're supposed to have. Your team is already discouraged or not. Now, basically, what you're doing is you're giving them an out and saying, we're getting screwed here. The referees, they gave us a call. We shouldn't have had that penalty, or they didn't give us a call. Anyway, just my opinion.
Did Claude Julien and Michel Therrien ever react to a bad call? I don't think Claude Julien ever in his lifetime ever didn't react to a call.
That's
even
fine.
When it's not a bad call, Claude Julien was friggin' like this and that. So
I understand, but I'm not talking about Claude Julien tonight.
It's not like he'd be the first coach behind the Montreal Canadiens bench that reacted to bad calls. It's been a common theme for the last decade.
I think also one could say that Tony, if he was completely stoic, and then everybody would be like, this guy is dead back there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's almost like a can't win sort of moment, really, right?
Yeah.
I think we need to concentrate on the hybrid and some help for him with Pascal Vincent, who so obviously got that team in Laval playing great. I think they're 8-1. That could help because I don't
want to mess with what's going on in Laval. I don't want to bring up Pascal Vincent. Then what, they're the team that's going to do something this year. There's some young guys
maybe, but Grant.
But you can bring in
the guys that we're worried about are on the blue line
or whatever. But who brings up?
Oh, I see.
Who brings up their AHL coach 15 games into the season to be an assistant coach?
I wouldn't either.
No, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, but at the same time, I mean, who are we really concerned about? And like down there, the record is great, but you're concerned about Beck, Engstrom, Waugh, Mailleux, right? And then like 13 guys who gives a crap. Sorry, but they're not going to be NHLers. And here you're worried about the entire defensive core that he could really improve in Montreal.
The last AHL coach that got brought up 15 games into the season, 10 games into the season to be an assistant coach.
No, I mean, obviously, but who gets fired 15 games in at all?
No, but nobody's getting fired. You're saying bring up your AHL coach to be a assistant coach in
okay, so who are you going to find at the 15 game? Who are you going to find at the 15-20 game mark that's sitting around that you can rely on?
I don't know. Gerard
Gallant.
All right. Well, let's see if Gerard wants to step into assistant coach shoes.
The guy I interviewed, for 4.5 hours twice in the last week, Larry Robinson.
He doesn't want to coach either.
Oh, I know.
No, Larry.
No. But I'm just saying, like Gerard Gallant's not going to step into those shoes. Do you think, like after his career, he's going to say, "Yes, I'd love to be an assistant coach on the 29th ranked team in the NHL." That's starting on the 20th game. I'm just saying, I think we all agree that he needs a little help, but we just don't know where to get it from.
By the way, Utica fired Kevin Dineen earlier today. By the way,
yeah. Or yesterday,
yeah. Well, he's got experience.
What do you think of Michkov being sitting out tonight, Tony? You haven't. I noticed you haven't mentioned that yet tonight.
Well, I noticed that you were looking forward to mentioning it, Grant. I don't know why we're mentioning Michkov on a Montreal Canadiens postgame show
50 minutes in. Well, because you mention him every time he freaking blows his nose the right way. That Michkov blew his nose really well last night, eh, Grant?
All right. Okay, I'll tell you that Michkov, Grant, was a healthy scratch on a John Tortorella team who's got the reputation of scratching more than just Matvei Michkov. I'll tell you that he's got 10 points in 13 games, and he's a lot more of a superstar than David Reinbacher is right now. But
really,
I think so. Well, I think
David
so.
Reinbacher's never ever been a healthy scratch in his life, Tony.
Well, but
Matvei Michkov last year was a healthy scratch with SKA.
Okay.
Matvei Michkov this year with Philadelphia has been a healthy scratch.
Grant,
you notice a pattern there?
Yeah.
I liked
Grant,
how you're
Grant, with all due respect, Grant, you can talk about to anybody in the world right now about Michkov and Reinbacher, and you're going to be the only one in the world who's going to say Reinbacher, Grant. You know that, eh? Because one was the rookie of the month right now, and the other one was at Paul Byron's house hanging out candies on Halloween.
Because of the 15 even strength goals that he was on the ice for. That's why he's sitting out. And I liked the TSN 690
He plays for the Philadelphia Flyers.
TSN 690 today, Tony.
I don't care about TSN 690. I would wish you would not promote them on this podcast, please.
I'm not promoting them. I'm saying
you just brought them up. I don't listen to them.
I don't care if you don't listen to them.
Why? I don't want you to bring them up.
Oh, come on. Don't be that shallow.
Okay, go ahead.
Friggin' TSN 690 with their updates saying, John Tortorella scratching rookie sensation. If he was a sensation right now, Tony, why would he be scratched? I'm just picturing like when Tortorella makes the announcement on, I'm scratching rookie sensation Matvei Michkov for tonight's game. Do you think he said? Do you think they got that from Torts?
Well,
Torts said, I'm scratching rookie sensation. Anyway, 15 even strength goals against in 12 games. That's why
2 words. If I could just for 2 words.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ryan Leonard. That's all.
Oh, he was the pick.
It's easy to David Reinbacher is injured, so it's easy for us to look, he's not doing anything. Well, no, because he's injured.
No, I'm just saying that'll be my favorite of all of them. It'll be Leonard. That's my guy. I think
that's the guy.
He hasn't played a game yet. He's still in college, getting another year in. Thinking he's going to win the national championship.
I had ranked 4th overall, and if it would have been up to me and you, we'd have picked Ryan Leonard. Yes, love him, but
drafts are hard, man.
Reinbacher's the guy, and Tony, NHL playoff game 5 years from now. If Reinbacher's not as effective as Michkov, and I think he will be, then we can talk.
That's fine.
But
so
him getting 12 points.
Why are we talking now then?
Him getting 12 points on the power play, No, well, you're saying there's not a guy in the NHL. I disagree with that.
Okay, well, right
There's
now,
lots of people in the NHL
I said right now.
that
I said
know
right
their
now.
hockey, that know that Michkov is a one-way player, and that there's a damn good reason why he was scratched.
It
wasn't because he's a sensation.
That's
it's because
fine.
he can't check his hat.
Yes, and that's fine. And
you even said that, Tony, last week.
Yes,
you were watching him.
Yes, I saw him cheat. I saw him cheat on.
Can I interject?
You know. Go ahead.
It's a question actually for Grant. Do you think he'll never be able to check his hat?
Well,
is
I don't
that
know.
what you're getting at?
I've been watching him for 4 years, and the hat's still sitting in the cloakroom. It hasn't, it hasn't been picked up. So
obviously, offensively extremely dynamic, but if he can't check his hat and he's going to be a liability,
it's pretty obvious that he doesn't have much concern about the defensive game. It's always been the concern with him.
He's so young, man. He's so young.
Right.
And Tortorella benches everybody. It's it's just the thing he does.
He benched Morgan Frost, but it's because he wouldn't check either. And Morgan's still trying to figure that out. But yeah, he doesn't Tortorella doesn't bench guys that play away from the puck.
He benched his captain.
He benched his captain.
He benches everybody.
Sean Couturier.
Right.
So it's it's
For
just the thing he does. He would have benched Bobby Orr.
Okay.
For not back checking once.
Right.
Yeah.
So I predicted this going into the year that he'd end up benching Michkov, and it took 12 games.
Yeah,
and we'll see. And
yes,
and
he benched
he's going to be benched next game too.
And he benched him because he's -8, but Marty St. Louis hasn't benched Kirby Dach, who's -1,000. All right. Okay.
I think the bottom line is going to be, can he learn how to check his hat?
Well, maybe
that's the bottom line.
Cole
right?
Caulfield
I still think he's talented. Obviously, you're not going to say he's not talented. He's very talented.
Of course, but I still think that he's going to be a secondary guy on a contender. Like, he'll be a Phil Kessel type player, which is good. But if you think that he's going to be a guy that wins you playoff games, that he's going to, be the all-around player that helps you win when it really counts.
Do you think Leonard is a guy that helps you win when it really counts?
What's that?
Do you think Leonard is a guy that helps you win when it really counts?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I do. That guy's a gamer. Guy's a gamer. He was the best guy on that line, not Will Smith in the end.
No.
We could think what we want. I mean, some thought Kotkaniemi was going to be a start too. All right, okay. Can we move on now?
Oh, jeez.
Go ahead. You're the host.
All right, okay. I want to bring up the event summary of tonight's game and bring up some of the stats. All right, okay. What stands out here? Mike Matheson had less minutes than we're normally accustomed to. He had 22-27.
Oh, 27.
With 22-27, but we thought that he was fighting the puck tonight. Hey, what haven't we said about Brendan Gallagher, right? If we go through every game, he's probably been the guy who's given the best effort, maybe the best performances of any Montreal Canadiens forward. We could bring up Jake Evans as well, but Gallagher's been fantastic so far for the Canadiens. Been fantastic.
Absolutely.
Cole Caulfield only had one shot tonight, guys. Only one shot.
Yeah, that line did nothing tonight. They were just not in the game.
No.
Nick Suzuki only had one shot as well.
41 in the dot. Dvorak was 42 in the dot.
Slavkovsky.
Evans has not been bad as the second line center, So
yeah,
I don't know if he can hold it, but
the faceoffs ended up being at 49%. Not bad there.
He was
Slavkovsky was -1 tonight. Only one shot for him as well. He can't wait to get back with Suzuki and Caulfield, I would imagine. Lane Hudson was -2, guys. 27-37. He had 5 minutes and 10 seconds more than Mike Matheson tonight.
Trial by fire, eh? Wow, he's getting used a lot. And this is a collegiate used to 50 game seasons. So he doesn't seem to be bothered so far. I mean, a lot of errors, obviously. I mean, we can talk about that goal where he chipped in. I'm 50-50 on it.
Yeah.
They were down by 1. He's probably got to be aggressive looking for the goal there. I hope he's yelling at Heineman to pass it to him, obviously.
A buddy of mine, Brian, sent me a note tonight. He's like, okay, can they get rid of Josh Anderson already? Josh Anderson had 5 hits and 3 shots tonight. I didn't think he was bad.
He's trying hard, man.
He's trying hard. I mean, he had that shot on the Gallagher goal.
MSL's lost the room. I don't think it's fair because he's just busting his ass out there.
Marty St. Louis hasn't lost the room.
Busting his ass. busting his ass out there for him. A lot of these guys are like humping for him, and like they're like late in the game in their own careers, and they're still humping for him. Like they can, become Kurt Muller and rewrite who they are as hockey players and extend their careers another 5 years. And I don't know if it's true or false, but he's making them believe it. Look at Gallagher, second on the team in goals with 6.
Yeah. All right. So guys, Canadians they're in Toronto on Saturday, and they're in Buffalo on Monday afternoon, by the way. 12:30 game Monday afternoon. So safe to say Montembeault again on Saturday and Caden Primo on Monday.
Jacob Dobich on Saturday would be what I'd like, but guess it's not happening.
We haven't talked a lot about goaltending. Obviously, you talked about New Jersey. They had 850 goaltending. Well, that's why you go 102 to 80 on your point total. You got to score 6 times with 850 goaltending, and the Canadians with only 890 goaltending. Now they got to score 4 or 5, allowing 30 shots. It's simple math. So, I mean, you're asking that group without a second line to get 5 goals to win games. You need some saves. Grant
just brought up Dobich. I mean, Montembeault must be freaking out with the Four Nations Cup coming up. I mean, yes, he is. But Montembeault must be with the Four Nations Cup. I mean, he got off to that amazing game.
Is it too much? You think that's what's caused it, Tony? Because like when he was sensational in those first starts, like in the room after the game, that's all they were asking him about.
Yeah.
It was like 5 months in the future, and it was like Four Nations, Four Nations, Four Nations. You played with Canada before. He did really well in Europe, and he hasn't like.
So I know Grant. I know Grant has said that he gives up goals early. That's a fact. Okay. He gives up about a bad goal every game. That's almost pretty much a fact as well. It doesn't help. I mean, Jake Evans is your second line. You got no offense coming from your second line. Sometimes you get offense coming from your third line. It doesn't seem like you get offense from everyone coming at the same time. The first line hasn't done anything in the last several games. You don't have an identity on your fourth line. You got a very, very young D. They're having a hard time with the defensive zone coverage. Look, I don't think it's all him. Like, I really like you need to protect him better.
But, when you don't have a second line, you don't have a top 6 that, legitimate, and you're giving up a goal early or 2 goals early, it seems like every night, it's tough hill to climb. It really is. And they need better goaltending. He needs to be better early, keep him in games. Primo needs to be better. Those two start playing better, the club will miraculously be more competitive. I really think that's one of the main issues with them right now. And it's got to be discouraging for the young players too. They make a mistake and they feel like it's going to end up in the back of the net. So, each will build off each other. I think the confidence of the young defensemen will grow when the goaltenders start playing a little better.
With all due respect to Caden Primo, I also think if Jacob Fowler was on this team, Brian, you brought up his save percentage before. If he's on this team, Monty's knows that he has to be unbelievable every night, because if he's not, he's going to lose his spot as the number 1. He doesn't feel he's going to lose his spot with Caden Primo being number 2 on the team. You need somebody. Brent brought up before. Look for a veteran. You need somebody to push Montembeault a lot more. And
they were in on Askarov, so I mean, it is a team that has an awareness that situationally right now they would love to have a goalie, and in the future I think they feel very comfortable in Fowler. And what I'm hearing is he has just got like everything. He is it. It's not only just extreme talent at the goaltender position, but an attitude that goes with it. He's a winner. He's a fighter, a champion. He's made for Montreal, and I think people should get really excited about him, because the reports are he's going to be a real somebody. So goaltending is not an issue going forward. The big issue for me going forward is they need another center.
Yeah, like Kotkaniemi. Why don't they? Hey, Tony, why don't they pick up Kotkaniemi? I think that would.
How about Misa instead? How about Misa or Higgins?
Oh well, yeah.
I brought up.
They might end up being better than KK.
Be an upper echelon, almost star type player. Like, I mean, we're talking about how does the rebuild finish? It finishes with that. I'm starting to believe it doesn't finish with Dach making improvements, considering he's just not the same player right now off the knee.
Well,
I'm sure he will get better, but I don't see the 80-90s upside that I used to.
Brian, I was saying the other day that if the Canadiens want to be in the mix, maybe you can go after
big mix.
Maybe you can go after a guy like Granlund, right? Because he plays for the worst team in hockey. They would have no parting ways with a guy like that, you would imagine. He's got 1 year left on his contract. They're going to trade him anyway. But at the end of the day, the reality is they're not going to be in the mix. So you know what? Just play out the season. Let nature take its course.
Yeah.
Things will happen organically.
People might hate me for this, but my wish is that they get a star to go with Demidov in the middle, and like a Mesa, like a Higgins. And if it takes one more year of pain, then so be it. Because, you know, like, you don't win cups with Suzuki and Evans. You win them with McDavid and Draisaitl. And Suzuki and Mesa, or Suzuki and Higgins, gets you in a correct mix. And I don't think Suzuki and Dach puts us in that mix either. So that, you know,
well, I
not a happy note, but I mean, a star, you need stars to win titles. I always say this is one of my favorite sayings. Everybody always says there's no guarantee. Well, okay, there's no guarantee with stars that you win the cup, but there is a guarantee without stars that you don't win a cup. So you better win the medal, because when you win the medal, you win the game. And these guys aren't going to win the medal.
Well, Toronto had 3 amazing centers and weren't able to win.
Right. But did you just hear me? I just said it's no guarantee you win a cup.
Correct. I understand that.
All right.
I understand that, but I think you need a team.
But you have to have them.
Who are the superstars on the Blues?
That was the only one in the last 25 years.
Boston Bruins.
The only
well, the Boston Bruins.
David Krejci
Boston Bruins. You don't think
Las
Bergeron was a star? I think he was one of the.
Las Vegas' top scorer had 60 points. So,
Brian, I mean, the year the Bruins won the cup, Bergeron had 57 points.
Who did you like on that? Like I think Eichel's a hell of a hockey player who was injured for most of the year. He was drafted 2 behind McDavid. He's a hell of a player, and on the blue line they got some stars back there. You know, the star doesn't always have to be in the middle. We're talking 5 upper echelon star players. This has been historically through the beginning of time. Yeah. So, there is always an exception to the rule. Sometimes a great team puts it together. But I'd rather the math of 18 of the last 20, I can rely on the math of 5 stars than the outlier. I'll take the stars.
The Boston Bruins had as their number 1 center David Krejci at 62 points, Patrice Bergeron 57 points. But they also had, and their top goal scorer and top point getter, by the way, the year they won the cup was Milan Lucic. So they had Lucic on the wing, they had Horton on the wing, and they had Zdeno Chara on defense, and they had Tim Thomas in goal. They had a team.
If you look at the cup winners, I think the last 15. Brian, just check and see how many of them had a 100-point score. It would shock you.
Well, especially considering we went through 10 years when the top scorer had 80 points in the league
to win the cup.
Ben led the league with 81 points, and then all around it, 5 before and 5 after, nobody had 100 points, Grant. We went to the dead puck era where the top guy got 88 points.
Well, no.
Yes.
That's
why they changed the rules. They had to take the red line out of the game, so we were playing more exciting hockey.
Score on the cup winner over the past 15 years, and typically it's not even 90 points. So
just because I just said the top guy in the league didn't have 90 points.
When you say star, Michael Hague could be an 80-point scorer.
Star, I would say the best players in the league at the time, regardless of what point they had in the dead puck era.
Yeah.
Like when the Oilers were playing, would you rather have Gretzky and Messier and Coffey and Fuhr and Moog and Anderson, or would you rather have whoever the other team had? Lidstrom and Yzerman and Datsuk and Zetterberg. Would you rather have those guys or the guys they were playing?
All I know is
stars win. What kind of sport is it if stars don't win cups?
Can I?
What kind of sport?
Can I?
It's a crap sport.
Or
I didn't even know yours was starting before mine. But go ahead.
Look at the stats, and you'll be surprised that you don't have to have high point scorers. You don't have to have Higgins to win the cup. But yeah, it sure wouldn't hurt. Sure wouldn't hurt to get another. I'm hoping that they get another high pick at this point because I don't see them making the playoffs, and I'm not going to argue with that. One more to go with them. I think Hage might be a hell of a player too. And even if they don't get a top 5 pick, I think the future looks extremely bright. But yeah, getting a Misha.
So do I.
And NYA.
It looks extremely bright.
One year, the New Jersey Devils won the Cup with 4 guys and 50 points in the 50s.
Yeah.
But that was another time in the National Hockey League. I get it.
1995-ish.
I think Chicago won a cup with a 60-some point, again 70-point guy.
They also won it.
But they had Kane,
Taves,
right?
Seabrook, Keith, Osa.
Right, but they weren't.
Okay, well, what are we getting at here? You're talking about outliers instead of all the times that people won cups with stars. And what kind of sport is hockey if you don't want the best players? This is the only sport where people argue to not have the best players.
Right.
Do you think in the NBA they'd say, I really wasn't interested in
Was Brent Seabrook really? Was Brent Seabrook really a star? Was their goaltender really
30
a
minutes
star?
a game for that cup.
He was a good player.
He and Keith were the top pairing, and they played 28 minutes and they dominated every game.
Goalie can be a Seabrook. They've got Keith. They've got Keith in the system. They've got Laine. They've got Slavkovsky. They've got Caulfield.
I'm not taking the other side.
All of those guys. Demidov has Kane potential all day long.
Yes.
But
Grant, I'm not taking the other side on that. I'm not saying the Canadiens have a problem, except for they need one more center. You're trying to now put me in the place where I don't think the Canadiens got the parts.
I think the
Canadiens got the parts.
I think Michael Hage can be that center, Brian.
Maybe. Drafted 21. Statistically unlikely.
Well,
where was Patrice Bergeron?
Again, an outlier, Grant. We can do that all the time. You can always pick an outlier, and that doesn't mean it's a cogent argument.
Well, I mean, but it happens all the time.
How do you find an outlier?
Brian, I know
very few teams that won the cup had 2 centers that were top 5 picks. You look at it. There'll be one of the 2 that wasn't a top 15 pick. Like Chicago's second line center, Sharp or whoever they had, wasn't a top 5 pick. It doesn't have to be top 5 guys at center.
It helps.
Your probability.
Michael Hage, if he's your number 2 center,
it does help. But your number 1 center right now.
How did Chicago win with Patrick Sharp if he wasn't a top 10 pick? Well, they don't have to be a top 10 pick.
The Canadiens
don't have to be. No, they don't have to be. True.
O'Reilly wasn't a top 10 pick.
St. Louis.
He won the MVP. So anyway, good conversation.
Well, listen, I'd love to get a word in, but listen, great conversation. Yeah. Yes. But here's the deal. All right. What Brian's saying is factually true, that you get stars in your top picks for the most part. Most of the time, they end up going first or they end up going second, and the exceptions of the Bergerons and the Kucherovs. I get it. They're outliers. He's right. But it does happen. I mean, the Canadiens' number 1 center was drafted 13th, and the guy who was drafted 3rd doesn't look like he can play in the top 3 lines right now.
Right.
Statistically speaking, 50% of the stars in the NHL are in your first 10 picks. The next 30% are from pick 11 to 20, right. And the following 20% are from 21 and beyond.
And the 7th overall pick.
Those are the numbers.
7th overall picks are healthy scratches right now, so you just never know, Tony. You're right for sure.
He's 20.
You know what? The top broadcasters in the school usually go to in the world usually go to journalism school or TV school or radio school. Most of them go to university, this and that. I know one who never went. I think he's pretty good. All right, okay.
You? You mean you, Tony?
I don't mean nothing.
I think you mean you, right?
Oh yeah, you know who he means.
This is going to be a show to be remembered. I got to tell you. You know what the best part about it is usually when I end up doing these shows, I end up using my voice so much that the next day when I do radio, I'm worried that I won't have any voice left. Tomorrow, my voice is never going to sound better. I have to tell you. But it was, I had a front row seat. It was pretty cool, guys. All right. Canadiens lose by a score of 5-3. They're up next versus Toronto. The Sick Podcast will be back tomorrow night. And guess what? The Sick Podcast will be back tomorrow afternoon en français because I host a Sick Podcast talking Habs in French.
Cool.
Tomorrow will be week 3. In the first 2 weeks, we just put it out there on Fridays. It popped up probably at around 3 o'clock. Now we're going live at 2 p.m. So what do you do after you host a sports radio show between 10 and noon? You hurry home, you have a bite to eat, and then you do a podcast at 2 p.m. So that's what we'll be doing tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Grant. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Talk to you next time. All right. For all of you watching and for Shane Gaumont and Master Control, thanks for watching, everyone. It is a Sick Podcast, and I'm Marinaro. Ciao for now.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. Bittt, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.